Yeah.
Because those guys, there's a dirty secret about these people that are in Congress, and they party, okay? They're regular guys and regular women, and they're in their 30s or 40s or whatever they are, and every now and then they do and they get drunk, and they...
Human beings.
Remember that D.C. madam that had a whole book of people, and then she wound up committing suicide? She said, I'm not suicidal. And
Donald Trump's doctors say he's in exceptional health, but his second trip to Walter Reed in 6 months tells a very different story. Back in April, the White House boasted that the president was fully fit, a man of remarkable stamina who had supposedly dropped 20 pounds and shaved 14 years off his cardiac age. But this weekend, without warning, the motorcade rolled toward Walter Reed once again. The official word, an unscheduled follow-up, complete with advanced imaging and neurological testing. The phrasing alone raised eyebrows. No one schedules a follow-up for a clean bill of health. And no one needs a hospital visit for routine maintenance. First, the White House called it a routine yearly checkup. Then, when reporters pointed out the math didn't add up, it became a semi-annual physical, 2 visits in half a year, both involving neurological exams, at the same facility where past presidents went for serious emergencies. It's no wonder the internet is buzzing. If Trump's so strong, why does he keep showing up at a military hospital known for treating wounded veterans and presidents in crisis?
Works. Mr. Patel, are the victims of the Jeffrey Epstein horrific trafficking ring, are they credible?
Any person with information about ongoing trafficking...
I'm asking you if they're credible.
Ma'am, I'm commenting on the evidence we have.
But
we have routinely asked for people to come forward with more evidence, and
The mystery deepens when you consider where he went. Walter Reed isn't just another clinic. It's where heads of state are taken when something's wrong that can't be hidden behind a press release. Trump could summon any world-class doctor to the White House. Harvard neurologists, Mayo Clinic cardiologists, private physicians flown in overnight. So why the secrecy? Why the second full workup? And why the same hospital used during his presidency for what officials at the time called a partial examination? Insiders whisper that the visit involved more than blood tests and flu shots. The advanced imaging noted in the memo, language rarely seen in a standard exam, suggests scans of the brain and chest, possibly looking for causes of the bruising and swelling that reporters noticed earlier this summer. The same swelling the White House later explained as chronic venous insufficiency. But even that diagnosis raised questions because it can lead to complications requiring constant monitoring. We've watched this movie before, a leader who insists he's in peak shape while aides scramble to manage visible decline. During his brief remarks after the visit, Trump didn't take questions, didn't joke, didn't riff the way he usually does. He just read a few lines from a prepared card and left. That restraint alone set off alarm bells among longtime observers. And while his doctor, Navy Captain Sean Barbabella, dutifully wrote that Trump remains in exceptional health, the memo reads more like a reassurance than a medical report. What's really going on behind those sealed hospital doors? The White House claims transparency, yet every time the subject turns to Trump's health, the story shifts, the dates blur, and the explanations contradict each other. But while Trump's body might be faltering, his biggest problem isn't his health, it's his base. This week, one of his most influential allies decided he's had enough. Joe Rogan, the man with the biggest microphone in America and a direct line to millions of disillusioned voters, publicly broke with Trump. And he didn't do it quietly. On his show, Rogan called the administration's immigration raids horrific, describing families thrown to the ground and pleading for a pathway to citizenship. Those aren't the words of a left-wing activist. They're the words of a man who once defended Trump's populism as a necessary wake-up call. Rogan's disgust struck a nerve, because he's not some coastal pundit. He's the barstool philosopher of the American right, the guy suburban dads and gym rats alike trust to cut through the nonsense. When someone like that walks away, it's not a crack in the foundation, it's an earthquake.
I think they all thought that it was this lovely exchange of powerful people and brilliant people, and then they were just getting dirt on all of them. Guys cheating on their wives, guys, whether knowingly or unknowingly, having underage girls.
Everybody wants to be.
Maybe some guys, that was their thing.
Sure.
Because it seemed like with Epstein, that was his thing.
Yeah.
The timing couldn't be worse for Trump. The government is shut down, his approval numbers are sliding, and now the most listened to voice in podcasting is accusing his team of betraying the same working-class Americans who carried him back into office. Rogan's critique wasn't just about policy, it was moral. Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, "That can't be right," he said. In a single conversation, he dismantled years of carefully built MAGA branding. And he didn't stop there. After tearing into the immigration raids, Rogan went straight for the jugular. The Epstein files.
Photo ops that they said, like, look, they did like a thing. We have the Epstein files right here, and they had binders. Like, what kind of political theater is that? If you don't really have the Epstein files, like,
probably
what is
theater. And what I mean by that is I think, like, if they are keeping something quiet, it's because it's video of underage girls, or it's video of the victims who don't want that to be out there. And the Justice Department cannot make that public. They cannot.
Here's where the story turns combustible. Late last week, the Senate voted 51-49 against an amendment that would have forced the Department of Justice to release all files related to Jeffrey Epstein. The vote split almost perfectly along party lines. Democrats voted to make the files public. Republicans, Trump's own allies, blocked it. Only 2 Republicans joined the Democrats in support. To the average viewer, that might sound like procedural noise, but to Rogan, it was the moment the mask slipped. On air, he called out the hypocrisy and asked the question millions were thinking. Why would a party that screams about transparency suddenly fight to keep Epstein's secrets buried? His conclusion was brutal. He said Trump's people were protecting a pedo protector. And whether you agree with him or not, the phrase exploded online like a grenade. For years, Trump's connection to Epstein has hovered in the background, a ghost story the establishment pretended was settled. But now the issue is back in the headlines because the new FBI director, Patel, has been grilled for 2 straight days over those same files. His exchanges with lawmakers have been a circus. Democrats accused him of hiding evidence, while Patel insisted he's released everything the court allows. Yet every answer raises more questions. When asked directly whether Trump's name appeared in the files, Patel dodged. He said he hadn't personally reviewed all the evidence. That alone is astonishing. The head of the FBI claiming he hasn't read the most politically explosive case in his agency's possession.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I'm going to run out of time. You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
Behind closed doors, even Republicans are rattled. They know the optics are catastrophic. Trump once promised total transparency on Epstein. He said he'd release every document and leave no stone unturned. But months later, his administration declared the case closed. No client list, no new names, no additional releases. It looked like a bait and switch, and Rogan wasn't the only one who noticed. Victims groups called Patel's testimony shocking. They accused the administration of deferring to unnamed officials from prior administrations instead of reading the files themselves. They also reminded Congress that at least 20 other men had been named in FBI interviews as part of Epstein's network, names never made public. That revelation reignited the one question that keeps returning: who exactly is being protected? The White House insists Trump is clean. His spokesperson Abigail Jackson told reporters that Trump kicked Epstein out of his club for being a creep and that the Democrats knew about the victims for years and did nothing. But even among his loyalists, patience is running thin. The base that once saw Trump as the anti-corruption crusader is now watching his administration mimic the secrecy of the swamp he vowed to drain. Rogan's disillusionment hits at the core of that hypocrisy. He was once the bridge between Trump's America and the skeptics outside it, the guy who gave the movement a veneer of common sense. Now, he's the one accusing it of hiding monsters.
Those computers weren't there anymore. So all that was scrubbed. All that was taken out. So, and part of a plea deal is you don't collect evidence. There is no evidence. When you have a plea deal, nobody is collecting any evidence. You understand?
So what's in those files that has the GOP so terrified? And why is Rogan, the guy who once interviewed Trump for hours, suddenly leading the charge to expose him? Insiders on Capitol Hill say the real panic isn't about what's in the documents themselves, but about who has copies. According to one congressional aide, the Epstein estate turned over a second trove of material to the House Oversight Committee last month, including personal correspondence and a birthday book, featuring signatures from high-profile friends. One of those letters allegedly bears Trump's name, a 2003 note with a crude drawing supposedly gifted to Epstein on his 50th birthday. Trump denies it's real, calling it fake, but Democrats have already displayed it during hearings. The optics alone are devastating. Now we enter stranger territory. Congress is officially in recess during the government shutdown, but Speaker Mike Johnson is reportedly stalling their return. Why? Multiple sources claim that more than 100 GOP members are prepared to jailbreak and vote to release the files the moment they reconvene. The phrase comes straight from Representative Eric Swalwell's thread this week, where he quoted a Republican colleague saying, if there's a discharge vote on Epstein, expect a jailbreak of over 100 members. Trump will go nuts. Johnson's delay suddenly makes sense. As long as Congress stays home, the vote can't happen. As long as the vote can't happen, the files stay sealed.
My job as the FBI director is to
Is the
invite all
answer yes or
investigative
no
leads.
to whether or not you met with these women who were sexually abused and
Any insinuation by you or any
What
people
is
on
the
your
an-
side that I am not manhunting child predators and traffickers, just look at the
Mr.
stats.
Patel.
And you talk about
It's a political catch-22. The GOP campaigned on transparency, vowing to clean up Washington. But now that transparency threatens their own leader, they're hiding behind procedure. Meanwhile, the FBI director continues to spar with lawmakers, insisting there's nothing left to reveal, even as victims and committee chairs say entire sets of evidence remain locked away under court restriction. The contradiction grows more impossible to ignore each day. Trump's allies say it's all a witch hunt, his critics say it's a cover-up. But the country can see the tension building. And let's not forget the timing. Trump's hospital trips, the shutdown, the hearings, all colliding within the same 2-week span. To the casual observer, it looks like chaos. To insiders, it looks coordinated. Some suggest the medical narrative is being used to buy time, to keep the president out of the spotlight while congressional infighting burns itself out. Others think the reverse, that his deteriorating condition is why the inner circle is panicking, rushing to control every narrative before he's unable to defend himself. Neither version bodes well for the White House.
You are under oath, Mr. Patel. You just testified to Mr. Swalwell that you did not speak to the president about the Epstein files. To your knowledge, did Attorney General Pam Bondi speak to the president about what was in the Epstein files?
I can't speak for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Even among conservative governors, cracks are showing. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, never shy about confrontation, recently accused Trump's family of insulating him and keeping him in office despite clear signs of decline. Democrats who once avoided personal attacks now point openly to the president's slurred speeches and disappearing schedule. They see a man unwell and a party unwilling to admit it. The last time Trump was seen in public before the hospital visit, he stumbled through a press event confusing the names of his own cabinet members. The clip circulated for days before being quietly scrubbed from official feeds. Behind all this, the question no one wants to ask is becoming unavoidable. Who is actually running the government? With the shutdown dragging on, no progress on the budget, and foreign policy apparently outsourced to advisors and relatives, Washington feels leaderless. Reports surfaced that Trump's son-in-law had handled part of the Israel-Gaza mediation. White House officials denied it, but no one offered an alternative explanation. Insiders whisper that senior advisor Stephen Miller, dubbed the Dark Prince by former staffers, is effectively steering domestic policy while Trump focuses on his health. Whether that's temporary or permanent, no one will say. And so we're left with overlapping mysteries, a president undergoing secret hospital tests, a power struggle over files that could detonate his legacy, and a political base fracturing in real time. The same party that once shouted "drain the swamp" is now doing everything it can to keep the lid on one of the most notorious scandals in modern history. Something is being hidden. And if Joe Rogan is right, it's not just about Epstein, it's about who's really in control of a presidency that's visibly coming apart.
Declined.
Will you release all of them, or at least as many as you can?
We will release everything we are legally permitted to do so. We are continuing to work with the House on the subpoena request. We have substantially complied with it, but we will continue to release whatever we are legally permitted to do so.
FBI Director Kash Patel was supposed to be Trump's shield. Instead, he's become the biggest liability. When he walked into Congress for back-to-back hearings, he wasn't just defending an agency. He was defending a presidency on life support. The testimony was supposed to shut down rumors about the Epstein files. Instead, it blew the whole thing open. Patel refused to say whether Trump's name appears anywhere in the documents. He clashed repeatedly with Representative Eric Swalwell, shouting across the dais, and at one point declared there was no credible information that Epstein trafficked anyone to others. That line landed like a bomb, because for 2 days, lawmakers had been waiving printed interviews, statements from survivors, and internal memos that say exactly the opposite.
You're releasing them a little bit at a time, is that correct?
We're releasing as much as we can, but we are limited by 3 different court orders, and the department went back to each of those judges to waive those court orders or have them lifted, and each of those judges.
Patel insists the Bureau has released everything legally allowed. But if that's true, why are the survivors, the ones who lived through Epstein's so-called private world, calling him a liar? 12 women released a joint statement after the hearing. They said they were shocked and betrayed by Patel's testimony, reminding Congress that they personally named at least 20 men during FBI interviews. Those names, they say, simply vanished. Lawyers for the group claim the administration has scrubbed the record, and that earlier drafts of the reports contained references now missing from the official files. Even one of Patel's former colleagues at the Justice Department has allegedly told reporters that the director knows more than he's admitting. Meanwhile, the GOP civil war is exploding. Kentucky's Thomas Massey filed a discharge petition to force a vote that would release the Epstein files to the public, breaking directly with Trump's leadership. Other conservatives are quietly signing on. According to Swalwell, over 100 Republicans are prepared to rebel as soon as Congress returns from recess. He called it the jailbreak moment. That number has been circulating through Capitol Hill like a curse. Party strategists are whispering that the White House is running out of time, that once the vote happens, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle.
Time that you get
are
30
not
seconds.
answering the question. The question
I
is,
have. You just don't like the answer.
Are these women credible? It's a yes or no answer.
I have answered the question.
Well,
and
what
I
is
keep
the
telling
answer?
you, I'm the only FBI director that has welcomed new information in this
Okay.
case. This
You're
administration
not-
is the only one that has welcomed any new information in this
Is there
case.
a yes or no to
Present
whether the
new
victims
credible
are
information.
credible?
And outside Washington, Joe Rogan is pouring fuel on the fire. He's not talking about immigration anymore. He's connecting the dots and telling his millions of listeners that Trump's inner circle is protecting something dark. In his latest podcast, he revisited his own interview with Trump years ago, saying it now feels like a performance, not a conversation. He's turned from curious host to full-blown critic, and he's framing this as a moral crisis. He pointed to the same immigration footage that first drew his anger. Families thrown down in the dirt, people handcuffed for simply existing. And he asked, if you're doing this stuff publicly, what are you hiding privately? That line resonated everywhere, from political chat rooms to cable news. Rogan's evolution is reshaping the debate. For Trump, the optics are catastrophic. The man who once amplified his voice is now warning his audience to question everything they're told. Inside the party, panic is spreading. The White House is leaking internal memos about loyalty briefings. Congressional aides are talking about senior Republicans begging donors not to jump ship. And through it all, the health rumors haven't gone away. Trump's team insists he's fine, but even allies admit privately that his public appearances have grown shorter and his tone more erratic. One former campaign operative told reporters that the boss isn't in command anymore. It's impossible to know whether that means physical fatigue, cognitive decline, or political exhaustion, but whatever it is, the base feels it.
These are women who came to the Hill and testified that they were groomed and at the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met?
Meanwhile, Patel's situation keeps deteriorating. The same testimony meant to protect the president now threatens to take him down with him. Democrats accuse him of obstructing justice, and a handful of Republican committee members are hinting they might support a formal censure if more evidence emerges. During one exchange, Representative Jamie Raskin confronted Patel with his own words from earlier in the year, when he promised no cover-ups, no missing documents. That quote is now a rallying cry for transparency advocates who say the administration is rewriting history in real time. Even Patel supporters can't explain why he refuses to review all the files himself. It's as if he doesn't want to know what's inside. Behind the scenes, a new rumor is circulating that certain names in the Epstein material overlap with major campaign donors and high-level advisors from Trump's first term. If that's true, and there's no proof yet, it would explain the extraordinary effort to block disclosure. Legal experts are already debating whether Congress could release redacted versions of the documents without court approval. But Patel's stance has been absolute. He says doing so would violate court orders. His critics say those orders never existed. Somewhere between those two claims lies the truth, and it's looking uglier by the day. What we're watching now is a slow-motion implosion, a president facing mounting health questions, an FBI director losing control of his narrative, and a party fracturing under the weight of its own secrets. Rogan's followers are starting to talk like investigators, comparing notes on who might be named in those unseen files. The survivors' lawyers are preparing new subpoenas. Even establishment Republicans who once dismissed the Epstein story as a distraction are quietly hiring legal counsel. It's like watching dominoes line up in slow motion, everyone pretending not to see what's about to fall.
Mr. Chairman,
You
this
talk
is
about
my time,
cover-ups.
and I will take
Why
as much time as I
Where
want.
were you during the
Instruct
Obama
the
and Biden
witness, Mr.
administrations
Chairman.
when these so-called
Instruct the
cover-ups were
witness.
going on?
Mr.
Why didn't
Chairman.
anyone in those administrations talk to any of these
Mr.
purported
Chairman.
witnesses?
Yeah,
I
let's
have
get some regular order, Mr.
every
Chairman.
single person to provide credible information.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Washington.
And I'm
but
gonna
when you-
take
when
another
you
couple
accuse
of
the
minutes.
witness of something, he's allowed to respond. That's how it works. You say
Listen,
something,
he didn't even,
say the-
excuse me,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman.
So let's connect the dots. A leader showing visible decline, a base turning on him, a party in open revolt, and a set of documents so explosive that even his most loyal defenders are cracking under the pressure. If the Epstein files ever see daylight, the fallout could redefine American politics. The question isn't just what's in those files, it's what happens to Trump, to his allies, and to the country itself when they finally come out. What do you think we'll learn when the truth hits the surface? Leave your thoughts below, and if you're still with us, buckle up. The next chapter is going to make everything we've just seen look tame. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.